everyone, welcome to my first YouTube video, which is on how to make the most of your gap year with a little bit more focus on reapplying to medical school. Now for me, I've just finished my third year at St Andrews University, done my pre-clinical years and now going over to Manchester for my clinical years in September, and that was all after taking a gap year. I've been wanting to do this video for quite some time now because I think like a lot of people kind of sucked into social media a little bit. Don't really use it very much, but I was going on it anyway, and I saw loads of videos of people getting into med school and just like putting up their stats and like how happy they were, and it's so great to see that people are celebrating because it's something worth celebrating. You guys are putting a lot of work and a lot of effort, so well done to all of you lot out there. But it did bring back my memories from my own experience. And for me personally, I didn't get in that first time round. I was rejected by all the universities that I applied for, and I was left in this position where I had to consider whether I wanted to reapply, whether it was worth it, whether I thought my stats were worth it, all that kind of thing. And I don't think there's that much information out there on that kind of experience. There's obviously the side of applying for UK CAT, all the personal statement stuff, and that's great, but let's be honest, like the majority of the year will be not that. There's a heavy emphasis on the application process in the gap year, but less on actually how to make the most of it. At the end of the day, it's a year of your life. So that's what this video is about. It's not going to give you tips and tricks on UK CAT, BMAT, personal statements and stuff. If you're looking for that, go and have a look at another video. This is definitely not that. This is about the rest of the time, the majority of the time that you will have on this year out, and how to look back on it and think that you made the most of your time. Tip number one, acceptance is key. I think what people fail to realise, or other people fail to realise when they're trying to give you advice on your gap year, especially for reapplying to something like medicine or a very competitive degree, is that it's probably the first time you've experienced failure in your life, like actual failure, and that's something that's really hard to swallow. I think a lot of the time people that are applying to medical school or something like dentistry or anything that's very competitive or has a few number of places, is that your stats going through school tend to be incredibly high. Then suddenly not getting something is quite hard. Teachers or people that are in my year would say things like, oh, I thought like you'd get in. I'm sorry, but those words aren't encouraging. They're not exactly the most uplifting words that you want to hear at that period of time. I'm just constantly being reminded. But that being said, that doesn't mean that you can't move on from that. The number one step that anyone has to get over is that acceptance. Like the psychological game, the psychological part of reapplying to medical school, I would say is the hardest part. So the best thing to do for yourself and your own mental well-being is to accept that. Accept what's happened, because without acceptance, you cannot move on. Otherwise, it will constantly kind of niggle you. It's really important to not be too harsh on yourself. The psychological element will come back at certain points. At the end of the day, you've started school with a lot of your friends and suddenly they're going off to university and you feel like you're being left behind. Don't forget to take some time to yourself, adjust to it all. And the ability to then pick yourself back up and carry on is something that will help you in later stages of life as well. And especially at medical school, there will always be things that will come up in your academic studies, in your personal life. And having learned that earlier on is something that will help you in your personal life and also later for your career as well. My next tip is forget the timeline. I think a lot of people that apply for medical school or higher education end up having this 5 to 10 year plan, especially with medical school, because it's so long. I think they go through this idea of I want to go medical school, then go down this speciality, graduate by this time, blah, 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 blah. And my advice to that is kind of forget that. Not completely. I think I've got to be really careful with words here. In terms of timeline and wanting to do things by a certain age, I think that's the bit that you need to kind of let go. Unfortunately, life gets in the way. Rather than having this timeline that's quite rigid, just be a bit more flexible. Your priorities in life will change over time. You'll have maybe family issues, financial issues perhaps, emotional issues, your personal issues that will come in at different points in your life, and they will end up affecting this plan that you've set out. Sometimes having due dates for like your goals can, not always, make you less appreciative of the actual journey itself. It may take longer than you anticipate, but it doesn't mean that you will not end up in the same place. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've all heard of the term gap year. Like, yeah, going traveling on my year out. You don't need that. You don't need to travel to have your gap year. You don't need to be able to travel to find yourself. And because of the COVID-19 situation, a lot of people's travel plans will be disrupted. And so people that originally anticipated traveling for a year, backpacking, they may now not want to. So that means that you've got to try and make the most out of your time being at home. Now, I don't want to seem like a hypocrite and say that I didn't travel, because I did, but the majority of the time I spent it like in my hometown, working, and I can honestly say that that's the period of time where I think I actually had more growth, because I was surrounding myself with the right people that weren't in my age group. The way that our education system is that you kind of stay with people that are the same age as you from like when you're 3 and 4 up until college, and then you start with the same year again if you haven't taken a gap year. So I was able to expose myself to different groups of people that were older than me, people that were a little bit younger than me, and I think that teaches you different communication skills. That's another thing that medical schools really love. They love communication because it's a really important part of being a doctor. So if you can enhance your communication skills, that's something that will really help you not only in an interview stage, but also throughout your whole medical degree. Get yourself an accountability partner. You may or may not come across the term before, but you may have heard of other things like a mentor or a sponsor. And essentially what an accountability partner is someone that is going to be like your buddy. They're going to keep an eye on you and make sure that you're keeping on track. You've got a lot more free time than you've probably ever had before, and you haven't got teachers chasing you to be at a certain place at a certain time. Normally, when you're looking for accountability partners, you don't want someone that's emotionally that close to you, because they could avoid telling you what you really need to hear. But I think, especially at such a young age, we tend to not have people in our lives that are like that. So you can, in this instance, probably use someone that is like a friend or a relative that will tell you when you're being lazy, or when you're not getting your work done, or when you're straying a little bit, but also wants you to grow. They want to see you move forward. Be careful of that as well. There are some people that will not give you constructive criticism, or will not give you the best advice or things that you need to hear to help you move forward. Instead, they will just tell you things that you want to hear. And I think there's a very key difference in that. Think about it carefully before you approach someone. Now, a mentor is someone that's going to be looking at giving you opportunities. So luckily for me, when I was in my gap year, I was working at my old sixth form, and my boss was my mentor. He kind of threw me into situations where I was a bit uncomfortable, making me talk to parents, talking to massive groups of students together, and that's something that's quite daunting considering they were only like a year or two younger than me. So trying to seem as an authoritative figure to basically people that were the same age is quite hard. By having someone that created these opportunities for me, I definitely saw more growth. It prepared me for my interviews, it prepared me for talking to people. If you're lucky enough to come across someone that does create opportunities for you, or you could see creating opportunities for you, like maybe a boss or someone that you may have worked with in the past, for example, do reach out to them. At the end of the day, I think you've got to take that step forward. My last and final tip is have a backup plan. explore all of the options that are there to you. Yes, I can speak from experience that it is possible to get in a second time round. I've done it, I've known other people that are in my year, they've also done it as well. But that being said, there is also the other side, the flip side, that you may also be unsuccessful. So you need to consider all the options and what to do then. I know some people that have considered applying to medical schools in other countries, so if it's something that is an option or you are able to do so, maybe consider that, but also double check that there is a crossover scheme for coming back into the UK unless you choose to stay working abroad. The other thing that I know people have also done is looking at other routes into medicine. There's also a graduate scheme, so a lot of universities do that. The thing about these courses is that they are just as competitive, if not a little bit more. There's fewer spaces and you've got a whole load of people applying. You've got people that are applying that weren't successful the first time around. You've got people that have gone through their undergrad and decided that actually they want to go and pursue medicine. And then you have people that have gone through their professional lives and choose to enter medicine at a later stage in their lives. There are foundation courses that are available as well, and there are different entry requirements for those, but I would recommend everyone to actually have a look at those to see whether they're eligible to apply. Universities are offering places to students that meet those requirements, and those for varying different things, from being the first person going to university in their family to living in a deprived area. Lots of different reasons and lots of different criteria for that. And the way those run is that you've got a year of foundation, I believe, getting everyone on the same level, and then from that you just go straight into the medical course. So there are lots of other routes into medicine. I can definitely say from my own experience that having a year out was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. The next year will be tough and a bit demanding, but it will be so rewarding if you really make the most out of it. That's the end of this video. I hope you found it useful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will be posting some more videos over the next coming weeks. So yeah, hope to see you then.